people think about our current financial system as kind of sacrosanct and it's the only way to do it. But, if you study the history of money, really, it's got created in like 1971 when Nixon went off the gold standard in the US, and we currently have the system where most central banks don't have any link to a hard commodity underneath. I think fiat currencies are going to continue to exist for a long time, but we're also seeing the birth of a new monetary system. But
at the end, like the big question is, how do you expect to represent the fact that 0.0001% of the whole TradFi market is in crypto today?
Brian Armstrong sitting on stage with Brad Garlinghouse with a couple of other representatives from large financial institutions talking about how we are witnessing the transformation of a new monetary system at the World Economic Forum in Davos amidst this massive pullback in the digital asset ecosystem. The disconnect is unreal right now, which is why today, I'm streaming this particular video breakdown for you all to get your minds right in a set headspace to take advantage of this granular opportunity. I want you guys to just think about something, how over the last 17 years of the digital asset ecosystem, we have now reached over $3 trillion in total cryptocurrency market cap. And I'd say that about 90% of that has been primarily driven by retail. Okay. So think about all the over-leveraged retail positions that exist in the market right now. And think about how we are on the verge for the first time in crypto history about to get regulatory clarity from one of the largest jurisdictions on the planet, the United States. And ask yourself this question. Did you really think that these large institutions that were going to come into this space for the first time ever were going to pump everybody's retail bags who have over-leveraged positions sitting in on this space since 2023, 2024, 2025? Absolutely not. And so what is happening right now is exactly that. It is a reset. In my personal opinion, one of the last resets that is going to happen in the crypto ecosystem before we see $4 trillion, $5 trillion, $6 trillion, $10 trillion plus. The opportunity that presents itself now at sub $3 trillion in the total cryptocurrency market. And if we go lower because of the geopolitical spectrum and the uncertain backdrop right now, should be seen, and again, my personal opinion, not financial advice, as nothing but an opportunity.
But unhappy, right? But I think what's going to happen is that after market structure passes, the banks are going to get fully into the crypto industry. So we're not going to have a separate...
All caps, ladies and gentlemen. So showing you guys some of the documents that have been coming out lately and some of the announcements from some of the largest organizations in the game. And this is the type of research that the mainstream will not show you guys.
Well, I certainly think momentum is a big part of this. And I think, frankly, I personally think the crypto environment and stablecoins included, even tokenization, but momentum is so much on our side of that direction. And that's partly because you're seeing the US, the largest economy in the world, has been pretty openly hostile towards facets of crypto and blockchain technologies, and that has shifted dramatically, starting with the White House, but certainly, the work that the industry based in the US has come together and helped elect a much more pro-crypto, pro-innovation Congress, and you're seeing that play out. So I think momentum is a big part of this, and continuing to make sure that we're playing into that in a nice way, but also demonstrating real results. Because look, if this is just hype, I think part of the tokenization topic, the main topic today, part of that is like we shouldn't tokenize everything just to tokenize something. There has to be a positive outcome of efficiency or transparency or some of the root benefits of being tokenized. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, it's a nice science experiment.
Along with some other ongoing happenings in the market in regards to Canton, there was a brief Ripple announcement that just came out of the World Economic Forum. So we'll go over some of that as well. Here I said in this post, let's go ahead and zoom in on this a little bit. Right now, there is a massive disconnect between market sentiment and what is actually unfolding. Let me just make sure my microphone is correct. Okay. Global markets are trading on fear from Greenland, tariffs, trade war headlines, geopolitical uncertainty, and a pushback on rate cut bets. Risk assets have sold off, narratives have flipped bearish, and people are starting to say again that crypto is dead. But behind the scenes, the opposite is happening. And I'm going to show you guys that in today's video breakdown. And I do not think it is a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason in the financial markets. Time as you go on and progress, if you're new in the financial markets, maybe this is your, well, it's 2026, but maybe last year was your first year, right? Everything is planned. Everything happens for a reason. Nothing is by coincidence or accident, especially with these elites. So what are we seeing behind the scenes? The CFTC just recently openly published and is pushing a full modernization of the US financial markets on blockchain rails, digital assets, and AI-driven risk management, 24/7 on-chain markets, and fit-for-purpose regulation. We'll read a little bit about that report today. Congress is on the verge of passing the Digital Asset Market Structure Clarity Act. The US is positioning itself to become the global hub for digital finance. And the World Economic Forum is saying it plainly in recent reports that they just launched in the midst of this market turmoil that banks are adopting blockchain infrastructure and crypto into core banking systems. Blockchains are evolving to meet regulated institutions. Settlement, custody, and payments are moving to always on rails. Stablecoins are moving value globally in seconds. Tokenization pilots are now in production. Global banks, wealth managers, and payment giants are rolling out digital asset capabilities at scale. This is not some hype cycle that we're entering into. This is the real utility phase that a lot of us have been waiting for. And unfortunately, it wasn't going to be easy to get to the tippy top of wherever it is that you think that these altcoins or Bitcoin or whatever asset you hold in your portfolio was going to go. Remember, I said just a second ago, there's a massive amount of levers that exist in this space that needs to get shaken out before these institutions come in and pump everything back up. This is a system upgrade. The first wave of crypto was retail speculation. Of course, it makes sense for them to shake out all the retail leverage before the greatest wealth transfer in history takes place. This next wave will be the new financial restructuring. So when people say crypto is dead, what they really mean to say is that price is down. Meanwhile, the largest financial institutions on earth are rewiring the global financial system in real time, as you heard Brian Armstrong just say, literally on the World Economic Forum stage. And we are seeing the birth of a new financial system. Remember, short-term fear creates long-term opportunity. The future is being built quietly. Do not F this up now because you did not do your research. And so what I did is I dropped a link down here to 2 reports that just recently came out. Before we go on to those reports, you guys can see the global headlines. This is what I'm talking about, the disconnect. Markets plunge as Trump reignites fears of a trade war over Greenland. What happened just yesterday? Global markets plunged Tuesday after President Donald Trump reignited fears of a U.S. trade war with the European Union, America's largest trading partner. Now, hopefully in the near future, we can see this de-escalate. We can see all the uncertainty fade in the background. And just like how back in April 2nd, during the Liberation Day tariff announcement, the market overreacted and then corrected itself once it realized it wasn't that bad of a situation and things started to de-escalate. Hopefully we can see that in the coming days ahead. Maybe with the Trump announcement today from the World Economic Forum, he starts to de-escalate and he starts to say, look, we've been having some positive rhetoric and communication with EU leaders, so on and so forth. And the market starts to scale back some of this uncertainty, okay? Because we're seeing it affect digital assets across the board. CoinDesk wrote this just yesterday. A global risk-off wave tied to Trump's tariff threats, tensions with Europe, and the shock sell-off in Japanese bonds push investors out of risky assets. Now, we know crypto is one of the riskiest asset classes, so of course, this negatively affects our bags, right? But again, the disconnect is real. So coming over here first, this was put out by Zonix just this rising, January 21st, 2026. And this just goes hand in hand with what I was saying, that this is not some hype cycle. We are moving from experimentation to actual real world implementation. For those of you all who track fundamental updates, this was probably the biggest announcement in the midst of this ongoing pullback that we could ever have as a bullish signal that this is exactly where the future is headed. The New York Stock Exchange has announced the development of a platform for trading and on-chain settlement of tokenized securities, a move that marks a decisive shift in how the world's most established capital markets are approaching blockchain infrastructure. This is not a pilot, and it is not a crypto experiment. Tokenization is moving into core market infrastructure. All right. Again, I repeat, tokenization is moving into core market infrastructure. This is things that researchers have been saying for like 5, 6, 7, even in some cases 8+ years, and have been called crazy the entire time. But now it's unfolding in real time amidst one of the biggest market pullbacks and drawdowns in crypto history. And again, like I said, do not focus on price right now. Focus on the underlying infrastructure. Focus on the projects, the teams, the organizations that are building the foundation for this new financial system. The ones who are piloting, proof of concepting, partnering with the largest organizations in the game, the banks, the central banks, the small financial institutions, the credit unions, the payment providers, right? Those are the projects that you should be paying attention to, not the hype, not anything else, just locked in and focus on the future, not the immediate bullish moon boy hypey price prediction bullcrap that surfaces on the internet right now. It only makes logical sense for this to happen right now. For this to happen right now at the same exact moment that documents and fundamental pieces like this are coming out from the World Economic Forum and the CFTC, right? It is not by accident. January 19th, 2026, in the midst of the ongoing Davos event taking place, World Economic Forum put this out. The new foundation of global finance, a dialogue between banks and blockchains. I'm just going to read thoroughly through a couple of different highlights here. A convergence in the financial system is taking shape. It's quieter than hype cycles and far more durable. Banks are adopting blockchain infrastructure, and blockchains are evolving to the needs of regulated institutions and global enterprises. The result isn't a replacement for the old system or a wild leap into a new one. It's a convergence. We are moving into a systems phase where core financial infrastructure is being rewired in real time. Tokenization pilots are now in production, and the institutions that shape global finance, including wealth managers, brokerages, payment giants, banks, are rolling out digital asset capabilities at scale. None of this happens without a functioning dialogue between banks and blockchains. The first wave of crypto adoption happened entirely outside the institutional world. They're telling you this right here. Okay. Bitcoin wallets were clunky, on-ramps were fragile, and consumers were the ones experimenting first. Institutions stayed back for predictable reasons. Unclear rules, limited protections, and infrastructure that wasn't built for regulated environments. That is now all changing for the first time in history, in crypto history. If you zoom out, the most transformative technologies are the ones that eventually disappear. No one thinks about TCP/IP when they open a browser. They just expect pages to load. No one thinks about GPS protocols when their rideshare shows up. They just assume the dot on the map is accurate. And no one thinks about HTML or CSS when they scroll on a website. They just want the page to render instantly on any device. Blockchain is headed towards the same invisibility. Stablecoins already offer a glimpse of this, right? So this is the type of information that they're putting out at the same exact time we're seeing one of the biggest liquidation events and pullbacks in crypto history unfold, right? Going from at the peak of 2025, $4.23 trillion down now to sub $3 trillion is a huge pullback, right? It is not easy to bear if you were buying into all of the hype and the bullish moon boy activity that was taking place at the end of 2025, expecting your bags to pump, because now most likely you're in the red. It's not an easy mentality to bear if you were caught off guard by these hypists on the internet that don't actually do research and lead you in the wrong direction. But now is not the time to pay attention to price outside of focusing on the opportunity that the discounts are giving people to enter in to this new financial system. Here, we also see another disconnect. In the midst of this massive market pullback, we're seeing a CFTC, Chairman Selig, put out this just yesterday, January 20th, 2026, saying we are at a pivotal moment in the evolution of American financial markets. Advances in technology are enabling the creation of entirely new products, platforms, and business models, in turn, transforming the financial services landscape as we know it. Anyone with a smartphone and internet connection can access blockchain native financial markets that are peer-to-peer and open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Meanwhile, advancements in artificial intelligence are making it possible to uncover methods for hedging risk even the savviest professionals would overlook. These technologies are lowering barriers to entry, expanding risk management tools, and allowing market participants to tailor strategies to their individual needs and preferences. The excitement surrounding the infinite possibilities created by these technologies is palpable, and we are witnessing increased participation in markets the prior administration sought to overlook or eliminate altogether. To future-proof the CFTC for tomorrow's innovations, the agency's regulations must adapt to meet our nation's builders where they are. That is why I have launched the Future Proof Initiative. While decades-old rules designed for agriculture futures contracts may still suit those markets today, they do not contemplate nascent products or trading venues, just as American businesses are modernizing legacy financial systems by harnessing new technologies. The CFTC must upgrade its approach to unleash innovation. As part of this initiative, the CFTC staff will undertake a comprehensive review of the agency's existing rules and regulations and modernize these requirements to ensure a level playing field for new entrants and incumbents alike. As this new asset class emerges, the CFTC role evolves, guidelines we establish should not just fit the product, but also serve a tailored regulatory purpose. Now, I want you guys to listen to this gentleman here. He is the head of research at Grayscale. He was on a podcast just one day ago. This video only has 708 views. His name is Zach Pendle, and listen to him say, you do not want to get in after regulations.
So that's the bigger context. I mean, what do you see there from the bank's perspective?
Well, a lot of moving pieces. You know, on the narrow issue of institutions, traditional banks, investment banks, broker dealers engaging with crypto. Look, what we see is everybody is building, and nobody is going to wait until President Trump's signature hits the legislation to begin building in the space. There's lots of competitive dynamics at play. If you wait until the legislation is done to begin kind of planning and investing, you're going to be behind your competitors. So all these big institutions.
He just said, if you wait to invest for when after legislation is signed on President Trump's desk, you're going to risk falling behind. That is huge coming from a gentleman, the head of research at Grayscale, to be able to openly say that. He literally just said, don't wait till regulation to invest, in a nutshell. Okay. Now, why I find that so interesting, to get off this kind of like disconnect topic. Okay. This was a podcast from Coinage that was uploaded just a couple of hours ago. He is the general director of the Canton Foundation and co-founder of Fairmint. Okay. And listen to him say that right now there is 0.001% of institutional capital in crypto.
As you see, because you hinted to what's coming ahead in 2026, I mean, what is kind of the roadmap here? Because, as I said, sometimes people are just kind of waking up to Canton, so they might not even know where it's come from, where it's going. But if they've now listened to all this, what should they be excited about in terms of what comes in 26?
Well, the thing also that I wasn't able to insist on with the coin, and when you compare the two approach on the Canton, like the Canton coin has intrinsic value in a sense that whatever activity that comes on chain means that there is a lot of burn, and this burn means that you accrue value to the token, and so you end up in a situation that is literally a virtuous cycle, in a sense that whatever activity that is done on the network increase the burn. and at the same time increase the utility of the token and increase the size of the audience that Canton can reach. So the roadmap for 2026, and without disclosing what all the senior team at DA, at the foundation and all have in mind, like literally it's continuing to onboard all those big players to bring more TradFi on chain, to also, I think, be more vocal. Like, I think what's really missing today is also this objectivity of what is an asset on chain. And I know that there is a lot of debate between distributed and represented and all, but at the end, like the big question is, how do you expect to represent the fact that 0.0001% of the whole TradFi market is in crypto today?
Again, I just want you all to pinpoint what he said, to just visualize the opportunity and the disconnect that's happening right now amongst the retail mindset that was misled to believe that 2025 and the beginning of 2026 was going to be the year for some bullish moonboy bullcrap. They are rebuilding and re-architecting the financial system, and it was not going to be some easy feat. There's still hardly any institutional capital allocated to the crypto ecosystem. The opportunity right now is massive. With that being said, many blessings to you guys. Remember, none of this is financial advice. We talked about Ripple. We talked about Canton in today's video. I'm not telling you guys to go out there and buy Canton coin or buy XRP by any means necessary, but just understand that right now we are living through the opportunity of a lifetime, an opportunity to position ourselves before clear regulations that allow these financial institutions that have never allocated to crypto ever before allocate to crypto for the first time ever. I have a firm belief that a lot of people are going to be surprised as to where this market cap goes once there's clear regulatory implementations put in place that allow these institutions to actually hold crypto on their balance sheets without a whole bunch of regulatory uncertainty lingering in the background. With that being said, many blessings to you guys. Be cognizant, be aware. If you guys ever need a safe place to find all this crypto related research, the CYPRX researchers literally never sleep. There are hundreds of fundamental documents, panel discussions, the likes of the largest organizations, LinkedIn profiles, all curated and organized inside the private CYPRX Discord. You guys have regulation, digital banking, the metaverse, DeFi, real world assets, AI agents, cybersecurity, stablecoin, tabs and threads to go into. Some panel discussions that everybody should be watching and paying attention to, but nobody knows how to find. They're all inside the private CYPRX Discord. You guys can head over to CYPRXtrading.com. We'd love to have you on the team. With that being said, many blessings to you guys. I'll see you guys in the next stream.